Well, I was really pleased with the effort, the energy, the intensity that we played with in the game this past week. I think it was an improvement for our team. A lot of lessons still to be learned in terms of we did a lot of really good things in the game when we did things right, but there's still some things that we can definitely improve on. I think penalties probably cost us 150 yards of field position if you take the penalty plus the gain, whether it was on special teams or offense or whatever. So these are things that we have to really understand the consequences of and continue to try to improve on. But we made a lot of explosive plays on offense. Um, Defense played pretty well for the most part. Um, Saw some things that we hadn't really practiced, had to make a lot of adjustments in the game, so I thought the players did a pretty good job of that. You got the offensive and defensive players and special teams, and Jamison Williams is the SEC Special Teams Player of the Week, had a fantastic game on kickoff return, and really did a good job all the way around in the game. Ole Miss has an outstanding team. I think they've got like 17 starters back from a team that won 8 games last year. Lane does an outstanding job with their offense. Their overall team is improved in every category, defense, special teams. They really are playing extremely well. This is one of the best offensive teams in the country, no doubt. The quarterback is a fantastic player, understands the offense well, does a great job of executing it. They've got really good running backs. They've got lots of speed. They've got good receivers. The offensive line is returning intact. So a lot of really good players that are really well coached, and their whole fastball system is something that's always a challenge for the defense to get lined up and play with great poise and be able to focus on doing your job. So it's a real challenge for us from that standpoint. Defensively, they're really improved from a year ago in their statistics and the way they've played. I think they got a little different system that they're playing, dropping a little bit more like Arkansas, with a little more 8 drops and playing a little more odd type stuff. So and they have done it extremely well, and because they've got good team speed, they're good on special teams. They got a great punter. So, this is a really good team overall, and going to be a real challenge for us come Saturday. But we're definitely looking forward to it. We're making progress as a team, and I think it's going to. We need to continue to do that this week.
Okay, with that, we'll start with Aaron.
What do you make of your run game so far? A lot of great runs on the perimeter on Saturday, and do you differentiate? How do you differentiate between outstanding runs on the perimeter and inside running between the tackles?
Well, we had some good runs inside too. I think our running game was a little bit big, little, and I think when teams stun a lot, which is, old Southern Miss was, really kind of moving up front and cutting gaps and things like that. That sometimes you get the bear and sometimes the bear gets you. So it was a little bit big, little, what I call. We made some really explosive runs inside and out, and sometimes we had some plays where they gave us issues. So we just need to continue to work on block and movement, and I think that'll be helpful to us.
We'll go to Michael Casagrande next.
How would you assess the downfield passing game, and how did that 81-yard pass to Jamison Williams maybe boost confidence there?
Well, I think that anytime players have success, it's probably going to help their confidence. We need to continue to work on vertical passing game, good play action, and we were very successful in that game doing some of those things. I think to continue to do that will be a critical factor for us. We got more players involved. Tight ends did a nice job in the game of catching balls, and so I think it's a big part of what we do. Try to run the ball effectively, try to throw good play action passes, throw in the RPOs, and be a decent drop back team when you need to be. That's kind of what we want to continue to strive for.
We'll go to Cecil Hurt.
Coach, you mentioned Ole Miss using a lot of 8 drops. how many teams have tried to defend you that way this year, and how has Bryce responded to that?
We got a little bit in the Mercer game. So, I think, we have to have a good plan against it. Everybody's got to execute well. I think Bryce is capable of recognizing it and getting the ball to the right guys. So, it's something that we need to work on this week, and probably didn't work on it as much against Mercer because they hadn't done it that much in the past. So it'll be a real, key for us to be able to do a good job against, that type of thing.
Go to Charlie Potter.
Hey, Coach, you mentioned Matt Corral in your opening. Just what kind of progress have you seen from him throughout the course of his career?
Well, he played really well against us last year. The guy's very elusive. He can extend plays, very accurate passer, executes their offense extremely well. He can make plays with his feet. He does pull the ball every now and then. They do have a quarterback run here and there, not a lot, but just enough to, sort of make you defend it on defense. But the combination of things that they do in the running game and the passing game, they're difficult to defend, and he is about as talented as guys anybody we've seen run and pass for a long time.
Go to John Zener with the AP.
Yeah, what do you like about Bryce Young's demeanor? He's handled a lot of things, different circumstances on the field, but he also seems to have handled himself off the field well.
Well, I think it's his personality. He's a pretty sort of, he's got it together. He does the right things off the field. He's very well grounded, as a person. He's very smart. He's bright. He makes good choices and decisions in everything that he does, and I think that's just who he is. And I think it's an asset for especially a guy that has his level of experience to have that demeanor, because he doesn't get frustrated, and he can go play the next play, and he makes a lot of really good plays. But I think he's constantly learning and developing as we go, as he's making these plays.
We'll go to Nick Kelly in Tuscaloosa.
Where's BeRob's health at heading into this week?
Yeah, BeRob's going to practice today, and hopefully, we'll go day to day with him and see how he develops. But we're hopeful that he'll be, 100% by game time.
We'll go to Blake Totmeyer.
And Nick, Lane is asked quite a bit about what he learned from you during his time in Tuscaloosa. I'm curious, what would you say is the biggest thing that you learned from Lane?
Well, we kind of took on the task when he came here of, changing the whole offense to be more spread, to be more RPO oriented, to use, motions and formations to create issues and problems for the defense. And he did a marvelous job of that when he was here. He's continued to build on it. But I'd say I learned that from him because we sort of made that change. So we all had to get sort of, together on how we were going to do things and what we're going to do. And he did a really good job of that. And he's very bright, good, really good play caller. So I learned a lot of offensive football from him.
We'll go to Steven.
Coach, Alabama, a lot of young guys on the defensive line, but where has Jamil Burroughs taken that next step?
He's working and doing a good job. He's got really good quickness and explosive, power. I think, the thing with most of our young guys is they have to be able to execute and do what they're supposed to do. If they're supposed to slant, if they're supposed to take a different gap. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And when you make errors with anybody in the front seven, people don't really see that because somebody else usually makes the tackle, but it's no different than making an error in the back end where people do see it because it usually winds up being some kind of a big play and it happens in space. But it's just as critical that our young players can, really be disciplined in understanding what their job is, and so that they can go out there and execute the team defense part of it. And he's certainly improving in that regard.
Unless we have any follow-ups, we'll finish up with Tony. Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, when Bryce is making a play or escaping or running out with his legs, is there ever a moment where maybe you're surprised from what he can do on the sidelines? And just as a head coach, what is your thought process like when he's kind of making those escaping plays?
Well, I think we want the quarterback to escape. I think we want to, first of all, protect for him so he doesn't have to escape, but having, a good feel for the pocket, when to step up, when to move, where to move to, when to run, when to throw it. Those are all instinctive things that I think make a guy a really good quarterback. So, I'm always very pleased to see, his ability to do all those things. We don't want him to take hits, but he can take hits in the pocket or he can take hits out of the pocket. We just got to do a good job of playing around him so he doesn't have to take those hits. But his instinct in the pocket is a real asset for him.
Okay, we do have one follow-up here, and we'll finish up with this. Aaron, go ahead.
You mentioned the progress that Ole Miss has made on defense from last year to this year. What areas sort of jump out to you in studying from last year to this year's unit?
Well, they just have a good system and a good scheme, and I think they went and studied some things, and they do a good job of executing it. They know what they're doing, and their players are, really know what they're doing. I think, last year was a little bit of an anomaly when it came to, if you're a new staff, how do you get, what you want to do implemented? And I think, they probably went through that on defense a little bit, last year because of COVID. This year, because they've had the spring, they've had the summer, they've had a year to know what kind of adjustments they need to make relative to the players they have, and they've done a really good job of that.